Gentlemen, my name is Chris, and this is We Love Comics. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day today. It is another beautiful day in Florida, although we are going to be getting a cold front. I don't know why my car makes that noise when there's nothing around. It's actually kind of funny. I take care of all these cats. Then all of a sudden, two ducks have decided that my property is the one they want to hang out on. So for the past 4 or 5 days, there's this just pair of ducks that are hanging out by my house. So I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry about that. I'm actually right now on my way to the post office because I'm going to be mailing back my PGX 5.0 Tales of Suspense 39. They were nice enough to say if I want to mail it back right now instead of waiting to mail the other 4 books. I mean, it's going to cost me about $20 to get it mailed back to them, but, you know, it is what it is. Like I've said before, I've sent 4 comics every month for going on 8 years, and only 2 cases have been cracked. And those 2 were recently, but that's not their fault. That's the post office's fault. And luckily, out of the 4, only 1 cracked in the last 2 months ago, and then this one. But of course, it had to be the ones that were the ones I was looking forward to the most. But it is what it is. But this video is about why so many people are quote-unquote losing money in the comic industry these days. And, you know, first of all, if you haven't sold your comics, you haven't lost money. So you have to get the mindset out of looking daily at prices and saying, oh, the price has gone down, so I'm losing money. Well, if you don't sell them, you haven't lost anything. And if you learn anything about the markets of any kind of investment or speculations or, you know, collectibles and things like that, there's going to be highs and lows. The idea is when things are high, or you think they're high, that's the time to sell them. And if things are low, that's the time to buy the new things that you want to get, because I consider them sales. And hold on to your comics unless you have no choice. And I think the problem is so many people in any kind of speculative investment, they have the fear of missing out, and they base everything on their emotions. So they tend to get very nervous if they see prices go down, and people panic. And then they end up selling their entire collection or parts of their collection or their more valuable pieces of collection and end up selling them for a loss, which makes no sense to me. Because if you've seen with my auctions, and even with my auctions, I'm able to sell the comics, all graded by the way, for less than what the cheapest one on eBay was sold for, and I don't include taxes, and I'm still able to make profit. Because when I see prices going down, that's the time to buy, especially when you're talking key issue comics, like first appearances of Silver Age, Bronze Age, even Copper Age, and of course Golden Age. But, you know, that's going to be out of a lot of people's price ranges, especially when you're talking, you know, like people like The Flash and Green Lantern and Superman and, you know, all the others. Those are not exactly cheap. But I've seen so many videos, because I like watching comic book videos. If you have like CGC, CBCS, or PGX live unboxings where you don't know the grades, I'll watch it. The ones I will never watch are the 9.8 pre-screens. Because to me that's ridiculous, because you know if they're showing a slab, it's a 9.8, so there's not that much excitement in that. But when I'm watching all of these comic book videos, I've seen video after video on different channels all across the comic book community where people are complaining about how they've lost money. And my thing is, and this is what I've stressed for so many years when I give advice to people, if you are not willing to know what you're doing, if you're not willing to be patient, if you're not willing to make deals, if you're not willing to do the research to know what is a good deal and what is not a good deal, if you don't want to research about movies that are coming up and TV shows that are about to come out and first appearances of characters, If you don't want to learn how pressing and dry cleaning of a book can increase the value you're not going to do well in this field. If you know anything about the Great Depression, there were many people that were millionaires that lost everything. Unfortunately, there are plenty of people in the comic book community that have money that can spend whatever they want, but they don't spend it wisely. Like I've said before, if I had $1 million, anybody with $1 million can buy $1 million comic book. To me, that's a no-brainer. That's like going to the store and just buying some milk. But can you get that $1 million comic book for $500,000 and use that other $500,000 to buy yet another book? To me, it just makes no sense. So the problem is there are so many people that I've seen, and I'm making an assumption because I don't know people's full history and things like that, but I'm assuming there's people out there that do have enough money to buy whatever books they want, or at least buy books to where it's not going to hurt them financially. And instead of looking for deals, instead of waiting for deals, they just buy the first one that comes into their, eyesight. And then later on, if things go down, they regret it, they get panicky and they sell. So just because somebody might have a lot of money does not mean they spend their money wisely. I mean, just look at the course of how many people have won the lottery and won millions of dollars, and then less than 2 years they go bankrupt and they end up losing everything. So if you want to follow anybody just because they have money, be very careful about that, because you have to ask yourself, are they spending their money wisely? And like I said, I did a post a couple of weeks ago saying, if you had $1 million, would you want to buy just $1 million comic, or would you want to try and find a deal? And a bunch of people said they would just buy the $1 million comic. Well, I mean, that's how a millionaire loses all their money. Because if you have $1 million to spend and you buy a book that's worth at that time $1 million, well, you have no room for that comic to grow. So you better hope that the comic increases in value, and increases in value enough to have made it worth your while. Because if you hold on to that book and that $1 million book takes 10 years to get to $1,100,000, percentage-wise, you're not doing well. But the key is, if somebody like me had $1 million, I would try and get $1 million comic for about half of what it's worth. So this way, I have room for it to go. So even if that $1 million comic, the prices go down, and let's say it goes down 25%, which means it would now be a $750,000 comic. Well, somebody that bought it at $1 million now just lost $250,000. I just lost $250,000 in extra profit. So if you are one of those people, especially people that make comic book videos, people need content. So there are plenty of times where people are just buying comics left and right just to make videos. And to be perfectly honest, back when I first started, I was doing that too, especially with new comic books. And then when I realized after a couple years of that 95% of the new books that might be what I called the flavor of the month at that particular moment, within like 6 months, you couldn't even sell them in a dollar bin. I stopped collecting newer books. And I started investing wisely and spending my money by making deals and learning the craft, being quick in purchases, being quick to make deals. Knowing a deal is there. Like, I will buy $1,000 comic and I'll get it for $400 or $500. So this way, even if the prices in the market go down, I'm just losing profit instead of losing money. And so many people use their emotions in investments. And if you're not willing to put in the effort and the time and have the patience, because even if the market goes down, if you know anything about the history of markets, what goes down eventually goes up. So if you're one of those people that has a book and a year later the price starts going down, if you can't hold on to it for another 5 or 10 years, then you should not be investing in anything. Because if markets only went in one direction, well, then the Great Depression would have never recovered. And we've had many stock market crashes, albeit not as bad as the one in 1929, that have increased in value and lost its value. So there were plenty of millionaires that lost everything in the stock market crash in 1929. But there were also more millionaires that came out of the stock market crash than any time in U.S. history, because the smart people that saved their money for times when investments could be made and opportunities can be reached were buying stocks pennies on the dollar and buying people's whatever collections or cars or, homes at pennies on the dollar. So if you see a comic and it's worth $1,000, if you spend $1,000 on a $1,000 comic, you're not a smart investor. You're just somebody that's purchasing something. If you have $1,000 comic and can buy it for $400, $500, $600, then you are a smart investor because you have room for it to move. And not everything just goes down. There are plenty of things that go up. And I've had people over the years would ridicule me over comics that I bought, laughing at the purchases at the time, saying, oh, I would never buy those things. And there are books, like, I'll give you a prime example. I bought one page of Detective Comics number 27, first appearance of Batman. It did not even have the section of Batman in it. It was one of the other stories in the Detective Comics, because the first appearance of Batman, the whole comic isn't based on Batman. There's other stories. So I had one page of Detective Comics 27, did not have the story at all for Batman, but it was from the first appearance of Batman, which was labeled the CGC. I paid, I think, about $350 for it at the time. This was probably about 2018-ish, maybe 2019 that I bought it. And people in the comment section killed me. They laughed and said how ridiculous it was, and they would never do it. Well, I'm glad I don't listen to those people, because I sold that book for about $2,000. So, did I make a bad investment? Because most people don't know what they're doing and don't see that when it comes to selling things, it doesn't matter if 1 million people don't want it. As long as you can find one person that does, that's all that matters. So people are always so worried about numbers. Oh, I gotta have 50,000 subscribers on my videos. Oh, I have to have 5,000 people looking at my auction. Who cares how many people are looking? If 5,000 people look and all 5,000 of them aren't going to buy it, well, what are they doing other than browsing? It's sales that matter. So you have to, if you want to be a successful investor in anything, you have to know what you're doing. You have to take the time. And sometimes you have to learn through your mistakes. And that's why it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to become an expert at a craft, because there are going to be plenty of times where you'll think you're doing the right thing and you lose out. And instead of giving up and being frustrated, you say, okay, what can I learn from this so I don't repeat that? That's how you grow, from learning from your mistakes. And that's why if you, and no one's done this yet, and I've said it several times, if you go back 7-8 years ago on this channel and you look at my top 30 comics from 7 to 8 years ago, you'll see a video I did of my top 30 comics at that time. After you watch that, check out the video I did at the end of last year, so about 3 months ago, where I did my 30 top comics then, and see the difference. And it's not that all of a sudden I became wealthy and had plenty of money, because that's not the case. It's because I kept finding deal after deal after deal, turning around and selling them for a profit, using those profits to buy better comics, and then going from there, so on and so forth. Why are these lights on? Oh, okay, pressed the wrong button. Oh, sorry. So, if you look at the books that I did last year, at the end of last year, I'm going to soon do an update in the next month or so when I get one of the other comics back, and now I have to wait for this one to come back, where my collection has improved greatly since what I did 3 months ago. And again, it's not because all of a sudden I ran into money. I didn't win the lottery. I didn't, have a trust fund where somebody left me $5 million or anything. I have been selling my comics, selling multiple copies of things. That's why I tell people all the time, get multiple copies of books. So even if it's a book you love, if you have to sell it for whatever reason or trade it for something else, you can do that and still own the book. But that's how I've gotten to the point where it took me about 7 to 8 years of trials and errors and learning from my mistakes and growing and putting in the time and the effort to start finally getting books that there are plenty of people that would be, I can't say jealous or envious, but I would say would respect, they would think I would have a respectable collection. Now, I'm nowhere near a lot of people out there in the comic book community. I don't have the first appearance of any golden age comic, superhero. I would love to have a book like All-Star Comics 8, Superman, #1, which isn't a first appearance, but it's the first appearance of Superman in his own title. Batman #1, same thing. I would love those books, but as of now, I have yet to find a deal that would be in my price range for those kind of books. But I have a decent amount of books to where if I wanted to do a trade for one of those books, if somebody wanted to do a trade with me, I have some key Silver Age first appearances that I could gather into a bundle and be able to acquire one of those books without having to spend a dime. But you gotta get rid of the fear of missing out, and you gotta get rid of the emotional, I gotta get something right now. When I see a book, even if it's a book I absolutely want, I will first see what the lowest price of that graded book has been sold. Now, that's assuming it's a graded book. If it's not a graded book, I will look at all the pictures and I will give a rough estimate as to what I think that grade would be. And I have to be realistic as possible. And then I will look up what would be the lowest comic sold on eBay for that particular grade, or at least my assumption of that grade. And then I will try and get a lower price than that. And if I see an opportunity, and I know it's an opportunity, I will buy it right away. Even if it's sold at the lowest point of the lowest sale, I'll pass up on it. Because if I can't get a better deal, I'll wait. There'll always be another time to go around. And that's why I tell people, when I did my advice video the other day, which barely anybody watches, I tell people all the time that if you just buy something just to buy it, you're going to miss out. If you're not willing to contact a seller that does not have a best offer and try and see if they'll do it, you're missing out. If you don't know, like for example, my Tales of Suspense 30 was a CGC 3.5. A 3.5 sells for about $7,000 to $8,000. I got a person down to $5,000 for it. And then after taxes, it came down to $5,350. And I knew that that book was not a 3.5. Ultimately, when I cracked it open, and before I did, I was making a video telling people I was going to do it. And there were people saying that I was crazy to do it and they wouldn't do it. Well, I can't base things on what other people would or would not do. And it ultimately ended up, my 3.5 is now a 5.0, which is about roughly an $11,000 book at this point. Now, could it go down? Sure. But even if it went down in half, that's $5,500, which would mean I'd still be $200 ahead if it dropped in half. Now, considering the MCU is going to be doing either a soft reboot or a reboot after Secret Wars is over, there's going to be another person playing Iron Man. You don't think that's, if they do things well, you don't think that's going to start refreshing things over again and bring more people back into books like Iron Man? It's a long game you got to play sometimes. But also, if you wait for deals and make deals happen, you don't have to play the long game. Like I said, right now, I can sell this book if I wanted to at a 5.0, sell it for $9,999. You don't think I'd have people that would line up to buy a Tales of Suspense number 39 at a 5.0 for $9,999? Knowing that it has the double quotes and it has the blue on the bottom, which means it's perfectly centered. And that would mean in a 30 days period, roughly 45 days at this point, I would double my money without having to really do anything. So that's what awaits you if you know what you're doing, if you're not afraid to take chances, if you make business deals happen and stop waiting for them, if you stop just buying the first book you see because you really want it or you really need to have content for your videos. I mean, you're never going to succeed if you go that way. You know, I tell people it's like playing blackjack. I used to teach blackjack. I used to have a business where I did blackjack for fun, where I'd work at bars, I'd have a blackjack table, and I'd play blackjack. I would be the dealer, and people would come and pay me money for, you know, like an arcade machine, you put money in to play, but you didn't win any money or anything. It wasn't gambling. It was just for the fun of it, but I would teach them how to play. A person who doesn't know how to play blackjack, every now and then will win, but they'll always lose in the end. And a person that knows what they're doing, every now and then they're going to lose. But overall, you're going to win more than you lose. So if you want to be one of those people that every now and then you get lucky when it comes to an investment, for every win you get, you're going to have 100 losses, which is going to, ultimately, in the long run, you'll lose money more than you'll ever make money. Unless your one win is something that's so astronomically amazing and so high valued that it pays for all the others. But why would you want that stress in your life? Notice I don't have any stress when it comes to my investments. Because like I said, even if the market goes down, you could still make money. Because when the market goes down, I see that like something you wanted to buy on sale. You know, how many people, when they go to see Black Friday deals and they see a TV that was worth $800 now on sale for $299, how many people say, oh my God, I can't believe the price is so low that, you know, the market is crashing. No, they say, oh wow, I can buy an $800 TV for $299. Let's wake up at midnight and go there and get that deal. But people don't seem to do that with investments. They're like, oh my God, the prices are going down. Well, like I said in the beginning of this video, if you didn't sell anything, you haven't lost any money. And also, on the other end, if the price is going up and up and up, and you're saying, oh, I made $500 on this book. Well, if you didn't sell it, you didn't make $500. You have the potential of $500, but until you sell something, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that money or the value of that book is going to stay at that point. But if you're not willing to put in the effort, you're just not going to succeed. And that's why so many people, or shall I say so few people, watch my videos. Because I tell them if you want to succeed, you got to put in the effort. You got to work for it. You got to be patient. You have to let go of your emotion. And most people can't handle that. And that's the reason why most people do not succeed. Now, am I Bill Gates? No. But am I homeless on the street? Absolutely not. You know, I'm able to pay my bills and make sure the cats, both inside and out, that I take care of, are always going to have food, even if I have to sacrifice a little bit my own happiness. And my investments will make sure that when I die, my wife will never have to work again. So my collection ultimately is not for me, it's for my wife. But I get to invest in something that I love. You know, why wouldn't you want to do that? I mean, how many of you are sick and tired of working 9 to 5 behind a desk, making some company money that only appreciates you until the moment they have to let you go, where they just, you know, send you an email or put you on a Zoom call and says, oh, we regret to inform you that even though you've done a great job for the past 25 years, due to budget, you know, concerns, we have to let go of your department. You know, why would you want to spend your whole life wondering that, you know, did I just spend 25 years of devotion and hard work for a company only for them to let me go with nothing more than a thanks for your work? And you work a job that you hate, and you have a 9 to 5 job where you have to ask for a day off or ask for a vacation and get yelled at if you don't do something right? Or do you want to be your own boss where you can make money having fun? But like any business, you can't just open a business and just say, okay, I'm going to open the door now and I'm going to make millions of dollars. Don't work that way. If you don't do something to get people in, if you don't advertise, if you don't give specials, if you don't work deals, your business is going to fail. You know, when I was a karaoke DJ, I would work at many bars where they would brag about how much money they would spend. I remember this one bar, they said they spent $750,000 renovating this bar, and it was beautiful. And they were selling like the Hilton type of food. But it was in an area of people that had McDonald's money. And I told these people, it's like, you spent all that money. Did you advertise? And they're like, no, because they were in a shopping center. They figured they'd do great. And lo and behold, 8 months later, they went out of business. So just because people have money like I said, does not mean they do it wisely. So are you spending your money on things, or are you spending your money wisely on things? And that's what I try and teach people. And that's why so few people will actually watch my videos or follow my advice, because they want to open up a business, just open up the doors and watch all of the people come in. It doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to put in the effort, if you're not willing to take the time, if you're not willing to be patient, you're going to lose out. So if there were people that bought at the top of the market in, around 2021, and then 3 or 4 years later they panic sell, unless you had no choice because you were going to lose everything and you had to sell even at a loss, you should have held on to them, because everything recovers. And everything can only go so high before it peaks. I mean, just look at the housing markets with all the housing bubbles. We're in one right now, and it's starting to pop. It hasn't even come close yet. The idea is learn how the market works, so you're not buying everything at the top and watching everything lose value. And appreciate when things go down. If you were the smart one that waited, you now can get things pennies on the dollar, and you might have to wait 5 years. You may even have to wait 10 years, but you'll get your money tenfold. So that's my advice. You can listen to it. You can ignore it. You could share it. You could thumb it up. You could thumb it down. I'll leave it up to you. Like I said, most people are not going to listen to my content because I don't do special effects. I don't have tell you everything that you want to hear. I don't make it full of drama. I'm just here to give you the facts and give them to you for free. If you appreciate that and you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/WeLoveComics. You can leave a comment. You can share it. You can thumb it up. You can thumb it down. You could leave a comment telling everybody what you think about this and go from there. But, if you want to succeed, you got to put in the effort. You get what you give. If you give nothing, don't be surprised you get nothing. So with that being said, I'm boiling to death in my car. This is Florida. It's about 70 degrees. And I got to mail this comic. So don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it's not you. It is not I. It is We Love Comics. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Peace out.